you know some scales, you can play some songs, but when it comes time to improvise your own solos, you don't really know where to start. If that's you, stick around. I'm going to show you 4 simple patterns you can use to break out of that rut and make your solos sound heaps better. Stick around for pattern number 4. That one's my personal favorite. Let's break it down. Alright, so before we get into it, all the examples I'm going to talk about in this video I'm doing in the key of G, but they can apply to any key that you like. I'm going to split it into 2 sections. The first section is soloing in a minor pentatonic kind of vibe, and the second section is soloing in a major pentatonic vibe. So the first one I'm going to be doing a chord progression of G, F and C, pretty common chord progression in a minor pentatonic kind of vibe song. And the second one is going to be over the chords G, D, E minor and C, which is like the classic pop song kind of 4-chord format. The techniques and the things we're going to talk about in this video are going to apply to heaps of different songs. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is this concept of boxes. Now when I'm soloing a lot of the time, I'm thinking in terms of boxes. Now you might be able to construct it so that there's a couple of boxes linked together. I'm not talking about the typical minor pentatonic box that you would see here. That's a box, but it goes across all 6 strings. I would very rarely play all the way through that particular scale without shifting in some spot. So I would typically approach the minor pentatonic in more of a diagonal kind of shape with, I guess, 3 boxes kind of linked together. So it would look like this. Okay, so box 1 would be this part. Then we're up into box 2. And then we're up into box 3 up here. So the second thing I want to talk about is this concept of chord tones, right? You have to be aware when you're soloing in a minor pentatonic thing, so in G minor pentatonic in this case, you have to be aware of where your root notes are and where your thirds and where your fifths are, right? So your root notes would be here. And your thirds, so your minor third in this case would be here. And your fifths would be here. There's another one up here. It's a bit outside the box, but... Now the reason you need to know this is because when you're playing over different chord progressions, you want to land on particular notes to emphasize that chord. So it's no use knowing all these scales, but then you're hitting the wrong notes over the wrong chords. It's not going to sound any good. You want to really know where your root notes are, because your root notes will work over a lot of different chords. So in this example I'm going to play in a minute, the chords are G, F and C. So the root note would work obviously over the G chord and over the C chord. And even over the F it kind of still works as well. But over the F you might want to emphasize your 7th, or you might want to emphasize the 4th. So you might want to emphasize this note, and you might want to emphasize this note as well, which is the C, which works over the F chord. Now this note here, that'll work over the C chord of course as well. So just having a bit of an idea of which notes will work over which chords is going to really improve your solos out of sight. So a good way to get a handle on this is to just play some songs with those chord progressions, or just play a loop with that chord progression in it, and just mess around with the scale, land on some different notes over different chords, see what feels good, see what sounds good, and it'll eventually kind of, you'll get a bit of a feel for, okay, if I'm going to an F chord, I might want to hit this note because I know it sounds good. So it's just a case of practicing that and just kind of getting your ear used to hearing that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm going to have a crack using that shape over the chord progression G, F, C, and see what happens. So next I want to talk about pattern number 2. So this pattern is still in the key of G, still minor pentatonic, same chords, but now we're in a bit of a different spot, so we got some different sort of options available to us. So this next pattern is still kind of like a home bass, but it kind of has a bit of a different feel to it. So the pattern starts here on the 8th fret of the A string, goes like this. So I find this particular pattern is really useful for the bends that you can get. So this is kind of like inspired by guys like Eric Clapton, Angus Young, those kind of blues rock sort of players use this kind of stuff a lot. So let's have a crack over a backing track and see what we can come up with. Let's have another crack at it, see what else we can come up with. Right, so I'm just messing around here, but you get the idea. There's some cool stuff to be found in that particular pattern. Alright, so we've talked about the minor pentatonic. Now I want to talk about the major pentatonic. So if you're playing a song and the chord progression is similar to the one in this video, so G, D, E minor and C, you might want to do a major pentatonic kind of vibe. So the first pattern that I would use in this kind of situation is this one here. So again, we're in the key of G, can be applied to any key that you like. So it's going to start here on the 3rd fret of the low E string. So once again, I'm thinking in terms of boxes, so little boxes that kind of stack together and in sort of like a diagonal fashion. Once again, it's important to know your chord tones and which note is which in this particular pattern. So your root note, the G, can be found here. Your third, in this case is a major third or a B, can be found here. And your 5th, which is a D note, is here. Okay, that'll get you started. And then there's some other notes you might want to think about highlighting over different chords, but it depends on what you want to do. Just as an example, playing over the D chord, you might want to highlight the A note, which is the 2nd note of this pattern of the scale, which sounds good over a D chord. But once again, to practice this, just mess around with some songs or some loops with these kind of chords in them. Just mess around with it, see what sounds good, see what feels good to play, make up your own mind. So I find this one's pretty good for doing some cool bends, a bit higher up on the neck. It's also cool for some double stop ideas and just some kind of cool little, fast runs down a bit lower on the necks. Here's a couple of examples of some licks I might play in this particular pattern. Okay, so I'm going to have a crack over a backing track now. The chords are G, D, E minor and C. See what we can come up with. Okay, so now I want to talk about the second pattern for the major pentatonic thing. Now this is similar to the two patterns for the minor pentatonic. One starts on the low E string, one starts on the A string. Same idea here. This one starts on the A string, but it's got the same box shape kind of idea going on. So it's starting on the 10th fret of the A string, goes like this. So I find this pattern's pretty useful for doing like some double stop, Hendrixy kind of things, and some pretty cool bends can be had in this particular spot as well. So just a couple of examples for you would be these sort of things. Things like that. So let's try pattern number 2 over the backing track, see what we can come up with. so I'm just messing around here, but you get the idea. Some cool stuff to be found in that particular pattern as well. So that's it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop me a thumbs up and a subscribe and a comment down below and all that good stuff. And if you want to check out some other cool guitar lessons, maybe try this one over here. You guys take care. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.